Hey everyone, it's Joe Glines here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, and Jackie here from Copenhagen, Denmark.
So we were we had up here a little cheat sheet of questions. We tried to, of course, brainstorm on ideas, and the one we were going to discuss next here was, which is one of those things that, and I think it's most people that work with AutoHotkey aren't like this. But why don't people ask questions when they see something done in front of them that they don't understand, right? And I'm always some people are just very afraid to admit they don't know something, but I always loved it. I don't care what it is. I'll be like, I'm sorry, what did you just do? Right? Like, show me how you did that. I love learning. I don't care who I'm in front of. And I'd also don't want to miss out on something, right? Like, clearly here's someone that knows how it works, right? So and they're an expert, so I'll ask them. But I thought it was an interesting idea of a topic.
Yeah, and I also feel that it's a great one. And from my work, where I'm supposed to teach people how to use IT solutions or whatever you're gonna call that, it's not the exact same thing, but I might be showing people how to do it, and I might be asking them to do it themselves afterwards, which is fine. But I very often see them then stumbling around doing what I just showed them.
Yeah.
And that's not even what the setting is. The setting is that I show you, you try. I'm not saying you need to succeed on your first try.
Yeah.
If you're in doubt, please ask. And because I might not see you doing it wrong, it would be better you telling me that you were unsure. And one of the things that I've often done is I'll then take a back position. I'm not trying to look them over the shoulder, but I'm like, one thing that I'm trying not to do is, let me do that for you.
Oh God,
or,
yeah, absolutely.
Where and I'm almost like, I don't even like pointing at the screen, because I'm like, I would rather them finding
Struggle.
the
They
button
have to
or
struggle. Yeah.
the element or whatever we're gonna call it, from me telling them. Hopefully they're actually recalling what they saw or where they're trying to go or something. It's hard when people don't just ask, because I know from myself that if the task at hand is clear to me, it's so much easier. It just flows out of you almost. It's like same as if I ask someone to go paint my house. And if I just ask someone, can you go paint my house? It's like, how are they supposed to do that? They don't even know where my house is, or which color I want, or how much of the house I want painted, or it's just the task was so undefined as I could make it. It's just a claim I made: go paint my house. And it's just, if I ask people to go submit that digital thing and they really have no idea of how to do that, I'll happily show them. And if they're then still in doubt of how to do it, I would have hoped for them to ask.
Especially along the way, right?
Yeah, it's like, that you did that a little too quickly. Can you show that again? I love to get a question like that, because, of course, I've also happened to be really slowed down by people keep asking questions, and I've taken myself and be like, oh yeah, okay, we'll go over that one more time.
Yeah.
And it really depends on both where you're at and where they're at. But I like going down rabbit holes once in a while. But I've had people that I've tried to teach who are just like information overload, or they'll just glaze over because someone asked a question that they were not interested in, or they had needed to have asked. If they didn't even know how to get there because they didn't ask on the previous thing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, then I've never really used that term, but it's kind of a waste of time, right? It's like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
it would have been much better for the first person in the room to not understand or not being sure of what just happened, to have asked, because it would reassure all of the rest
Right.
if I showed it one more time.
Right.
Instead of first he then drops off because he didn't understand it, and then later he dropped off, and then someone down here later. So
then, to your point, later, 20 minutes later, everybody is so far back and they have no idea what's going on. How can they ask a question now? Because they don't even understand the context to even, it's like, we should have asked you a long time ago, because now I have no idea what's been going on.
And I try when possible to have kind of an eye on people who either sit at specific places or place themselves far behind or stuff like that, because most people, when they no longer get it, or people who got it from the beginning, they'll not be as attentive at some point. And it's hard to really know if it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Is it because it's boring, or is it because he's just simply chosen not to follow along anymore because it doesn't matter?
It's related to the very beginning part, but I remember this from my undergrad. I was in a class and I'm sitting there and the professor is up in front and he draws this thing on the board. On the left, it has a high to low. On the right, it's a low to high. And he's explaining the chart and he goes through it after like 20 minutes and said, does everyone get this? Does everyone get this? And like, I'm looking around the room and I go, when I look at that chart, like that's reversed. The high here really should be low and the low should be high, because what you said, this doesn't make sense. And he looks at the chart and he erases the top and the bottom and switches the axis and then turns around and says, does everybody get this? Does everybody get this? So it was just so funny because what he said was total opposite of what was on the board, right? And yet then he said, does everyone get this? And I was the only person that said, wait a minute here, like that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, was that a test? Like, were you just testing to see if people are listening to you? Because it just struck me as very surprising. But yeah, it's fun. The other one I was going to say that's related to this is the people who say they get it, even though they don't. Right? Like, oh yeah, we're good. And then, but they really, and part of them, I think they do get it, and just they didn't pay enough attention. And then when they get into it next time, it's they realize questions they should have, because, and I think it's perfect, like you said, when they try to work through it, if you sit there and do it for them, they never struggle and actually solve it for themselves. So they still think they got it. But when you force them to do it on their own, suddenly you realize, I don't know what I thought I knew, right? And so I think that's really good that you do that, right? You can wait for them to ask a question and help them. Yeah.
I've been teaching a lot of people who are smiths or something like that, where they're really hands-on on stuff and they're really great at what they do. And recently the company had introduced mobile phones to everybody. Everybody had phones, but then everybody needed to have a smartphone because they needed access to specific digital interfaces to do their and introducing that to people who still had
Holy cow. Yeah.
Nokias or whatever they had. It's like, it's uphill, but we did it. And even trying to put them into skill comparable groups. So still then, I had a few who, after maybe hours or 2 hours or whatever of me going around to half of them, helping them individually, after everybody had left, someone would come over and almost having been dropped off at the beginning. So having not chosen to ask for help in a forum setting, which is also kind of sad that people are, whatever they are. Yeah, I'm not sure if ashamed or anything like that, but at least they don't want to.
Own up to it, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I realized. Part of why I was always okay asking questions, because I know I'm not dumb, right? And I know if I didn't understand something, the odds of other people having the same question were huge, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'll be the guy that just asks. I don't care, right? Because it's the odds of someone else not knowing it also. And the other one is, I always find a lot of respect when I see people ask questions, even stupid questions. You're like, wait a minute here. What was this thing? That you're humble. If you're willing to admit you don't know something, that's a really good sign, right? It's people that aren't willing to admit they don't know something. I'm afraid of them.
Yeah, I've told people that I've helped at work, especially, that I actually learn from teaching them.
Oh, absolutely.
So I really do love the questions that are outside of the questions that I've gotten before.
Yeah.
I'll happily try and solve the issue, and I'm also happy to say I'm at my wit's end. I no longer have any more ideas of how to fix your issue, or whatever it might be, and apparently it also helps that you're always open and willing to help everybody at any kind of level. I at least have I'm not actually an IT employee per se at my company. I'm for software and stuff over here, yeah, but I'm not in IT support. But still, people from around the city in the company might just swing by my desk instead of going into IT support, just because they can follow along.
Yeah, well,
as they said themselves.
You don't think like an IT person. Yeah.
Because when they go in there, their device is kind of taken away, and then at some point it comes back fixed. Where when they stop by me, I'll actually be doing it with them, and I might not always be able to fix it. Fair enough. I don't know all issues, but apparently that kind of makes them more. They seem to be happier when we figure out the solution, because
and they're actually going to learn something too, right?
Yeah, exactly. They learn to use their device better, and they also find out that it isn't them. It was complex. Okay, I now feel better for not being able to do it, because now I've watched you do it, and I would have never been able to do that on my own. And if you just remove the problem and give them something solved back, they're not actually learning anything. Right. So, yeah.
All right, man. Well, that was a interesting chat.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye.